everyone, welcome back to Obsessive Prepper AZ. Today's video is going to be on food storage on grains. What one person needs for long-term food storage for 1 year. What it would take in grains alone for you to survive off of grains for 1 year. Now this is not including your fats, your oils, your sugars, things like that. This is just your grains alone. Now the recommendations that I use is from the LDS website, the Mormon website. I will leave those links down below in the description for you to be able to go to this book. Now what I will do is I will print this information off. You see some binders that I have down here. What I will do is I will print the information off. It is better to do that than have an electrical grid go down. You're not able to retrieve the information off your phone or your computer. And by using a binder, you can store all your information in one place. And what I did is I printed off, give or take, 60 pages of the vital information that I want. Now, over the years, like I said, the recommendations change. This is the current recommendation, and it is just a great guideline. Now I will leave over here for you to be able to see it. There are 400 pounds of grains. Now on the other side, I'll leave here, they recommend barley, cereal, cornmeal, couscous, flour, millet. They have multi-grain soup mix. Now, I don't put my beans in with my grains. Those are proteins, and I store those separately in my head. This is just what I use for grains. You have oats, popcorn, rice, sprouting seeds, wheat, white rice. So, and they also do, you can see lists, which is great to help you have a list of how you store and how much you're storing. So definitely print this off. It's great recommendations. Now, another thing that I will do is with my books, I have 3 books. I have my preparedness kind of book. I have another book that I will print off information from CDC, from FEMA, different information. So if there is a nuclear attack, bioweapon kind of thingy, a pandemic, your hurricanes, things to do, chemical attacks, and how to live through those, how to survive through those. So I will print those off, and that is in a book sole and separate. Water storage, how much chlorine or what you need to use to have for water storage to purify your waters, things like that. That's a whole separate book. Another book that I have here is recipes. I will put recipes in a binder, and they're simple recipes. We have cookbooks. You can have your cookbooks. You don't want anything on the computer. You want it in a book. In my recipe books, I store recipes on different things. Like in the Indian culture, they will grind rice and make crepes from it. The Latin Mexican world, you can make horchata, a drink out of rice. Different kinds of breads, not just a white bread, not a wheat bread or a rye bread, but different kinds of sprouted grain breads. That way, when you're storing these kind of grains, you can reference back to it. I do a Dutch baby pancake recipes, biscuits, cornbread, polenta, which Italians use as a porridge, or you can make into a bread, fry it, Navajo tacos, Indian fry bread, tortillas, corn tortillas. Those recipes are what I put in. A poor man's a poor man's cake, depression cake recipes, things like that. And you get the idea. So if you're storing these kind of grains, have recipes that can back those up that you can go to. Now, talking about food storage, I've got all this here. What I did was I wanted a representation of what 400 pounds of grains look like. Not only just the specific grains, but the varieties. I wanted to break down a little bit more of the varieties. Now, on the storage of grains, one of the things you do is your wheats, your whole wheats, your hard white wheat, your hard red wheat. Now, hard red wheat will last much longer than your hard white wheat. You can store it in 5-gallon containers like this. You can store it in Jars give you an idea of the different looks of red wheat. This is red wheat, white wheat. You can do that in Mylar bags. Do your own 5-gallon containers. Sometimes it's easier just to buy like the Augustins or the Mormon Church, the cannery kind of buckets, but that gives you an idea of things that you can store. Now, you could do 400 pounds of just that alone. That would be harsh on your body, and it's not a variety. So always look more to the varieties. The next thing you would store is flours. Just understand that regular flour does not store as long as your hard white, hard red wheat. Now, in flour, you can get, now I've stored it in number 10 cans. I've gone to the cannery, I put it in cans. I've stored it as long as 7 years. It will start to turn rancid. You could definitely, when you open the can, smell it. You can still eat it, even if it's rancid. Not going to kill you, it's just not appealing. So my max that I have got without it turning, by the time it starts turning rancid is 7 years. So I've got my 50 pounds a bag of flour here that I've got. I will end up with this. I am going to put it in a food saver bag, break it down into my own 5-pound bags and store it in food saver bags. And I turn my flour. If you're going to store flour, make sure you turn it. You put it in a 5-gallon bucket with Mylar and store it that way. Just whatever variety in different ways you're going to store it. I've got it in mason jars, flour in mason jars. So, but this 50 pounds, I'm going to go ahead and put into food saver bags, something like this, but I'm going to do 5-pound bags in food saver bags. Now, something I've had people ask me in videos when I show you is when I'm using my food saver, I do not use oxygen absorbers. It sucks the oxygen out. You can see here that I did this, what was this, 819. This is chia seeds. It is still hard. The oxygen is out of it. I love my food saver. Now, if you watch older videos of mine, I used to put oxygen absorbers in my food saver bags, kind of like a double duty. I don't do that anymore. This has held the time. It works great. So just an option for you on food saver bags. Different ways of storing things. I just did a video, an extensive video, showing you different ways and discussing how to store, different ways of storing. So I'm not going to get that on this video. If you want to see it, check this video out. Now, we've talked about our flours. You can store cornmeal. Cornmeal would be great to make your cornbreads. You can make corn tortillas, things like that. So cornmeal is great, and any corn product is going to last you 25 years. Anything that is just straight corn. So if you dehydrate your own corn and you store that, if you have cornmeal, as long as there's not flour in it, you're going to be fine. So that, if you have flour, again, think about a 7-year shelf life on that. I've got cornmeal that I turn and I keep in my regular kitchen that I rotate. I love mason jars because I'm the kind of person that I visually see it. I use it more. I do not tend to stick things, keep in boxes, because rodents and bugs can get into them. So definitely mason jars, it's an expense to get into, but once you've got it, you can reuse it, and bugs and rodents are not going to get into it. On that video that I did, if you go into the comment sections, many people have made comments where they have stored even in plastic buckets, and rodents and mice have gotten into it. They have gnawed the top off. I think Jeremy, one of my comments come from Jeremy, and he had said they must love plastic because his mice and rats have ate through that. So we're not going to get into that, and it's great. Another thing to think about is sticky traps and mice traps, bug repellent, bug bait, things like that. If you're going to store this, always keep an eye on your food. Always pay attention to it. So with your oatmeal, you're going to make breads from it. Make sure you print those recipes out for your breads. Also, it seems like a lot to have of oatmeal, but it's a great thing to store because it lasts virtually 25, 30 years, and it's a great filler. Makes your tummy full. Think about things like sugar, Brown sugar. If you don't know, brown sugar, if you store molasses, mix it with your white sugar, that makes brown sugar. Honey lasts virtually forever. Honey would be great. Maple syrup. The only thing I recommend on maple syrup is buy it in small containers, because if it's not refrigerated, it can mold. But maple syrup lasts forever. With your oatmeal, if for like any kind of breakfast, think about chia seeds, nuts to store, dehydrated apples that you can add to it with your honey or your brown sugar. Great breakfast, makes your tummy full. Again, I know I've mentioned that, but it's great for you. Get your recipes for your oatmeal. Moving on, white rice. I've got here on my white rice, I've got 63 pounds of white rice. Number 10 cans, glass jars, again, 5-gallon buckets, Mylar bags. Repeat myself, but I know I'm going to keep repeating myself to make you know that each person stores differently. What works for me doesn't and may not work for you. And finances, what you can afford to do. Just, again, keep it away from the bugs and rodents. On my white rice, I mentioned making drinks from it, crepes from it. Get those recipes in there. Now, white rice will last 25 to 30 years stored properly. That's a long time. But your nutritional value on white rice isn't as much as something like a brown rice or quinoa. Quinoa would be great to have. Now, these kind of things, your brown rice will not last as long. So what I will do is I will take my brown rice, quinoa, put it in a pint-sized jar like this. On my jar, I'll write what it is, how much water, how much extra virgin olive oil I'm going to add to it. And I will use this, and this will be in my working pantry. 2 years max, your brown rices will go rancid, but you have more nutrients in your brown rice. So I wouldn't say in your long-term food storage, but definitely in your working pantry. And so again, I will do this instead of have it in boxes like this. You can always purchase it in boxes, pour it in your mason jars, Ziploc baggie, something like that to keep the bugs and rodents away. But you're looking like on this what is this called? Near East wild rice, brown rice. You're looking about $3 a box. Rice-A-Roni is $1, but I like the brown rice quinoa mix. More nutrients, do it this way, heck of a lot cheaper. I broke it down, 66 cents to do it like this versus almost $3 in a box for quinoa brown rice. So that's something that I will do. I wanted to jump in here real quick. I failed to mention potatoes. Now, this is not a grain, but great to store so you can make potato bread. So think about potatoes for bread also. Now, moving on, grits. Grits is a great form for a breakfast. We're from the South. My family's from the South. I love grits. Now, the way I eat grits is butter, salt and pepper, and maybe some cheese, sometimes some gravy on it. My husband will eat it like a cream of wheat, which is like, no, you don't eat it that way. And I know some people do, but he'll do butter and sugar on his grits. So grits would be great to have. I've got number 10 cans of grits down here. I've got it in the jar, and I've also got some Mylar bags here. So again, whatever works for you. Something you could store is buckwheat. Another grain that you can add to your breads. You can store it however way you want. Flaxseed meal. I've got flaxseed and flaxseed meal. So either and or, great nutritional value for you. Store that. I love to have ground flaxseed because of the, I make smoothies and I dump it in it. I had mentioned chia seeds. Great to have in it. Where I'd mentioned it on oatmeal. Put some chia seeds in your oatmeal. I store it like this in my mason jars, chia seeds like this. It's another thing that I make smoothies out of all the time. I have it in a jar with a little pour lid. You have your ground wheat berries. So this is ground wheat berries. Store rye would be great to store. Rye flour. white and red wheat berries. That's what's in the buckets here. So you can see the difference. You got red wheat berries, white wheat berries. Another great thing to store. Reach across the table here. Oat bran would be great to store. I've got white quinoa, mixed quinoa. So you see there's a huge variety. I've got barley here, pur barley. Doesn't last as long. I keep this in my working pantry. You can add it to soups and stews to add more nutrients to your soups and stews. You can eat barley just by a handful, you know, that kind of thing. So just different grains. I also have down here number 10 cans of popcorn that I had put in number 10 cans. Another 25, 30 year, I'm sorry if that was loud, wasn't thinking about it when I was doing it, but another 25-year item that you can store. So I think I've pretty much gone through it all. Again, if you are storing berries or anything like that, you definitely want to store your grinders. Have some kind of grinder that you can grind your wheat berry up. Small grinder, mortar and pestle. If you're dehydrating corn and you're storing a ton of dehydrated corn, have something that you can grind that up with. But those are all great things to do. I think I've covered it all. Just have different options. And if it's things that do not last as long as a 25, 30 year, store a little less of it. Just make sure you rotate it and you use it. And I'm going to tell you, my biggest tip of all is only purchase what you will eat. If you hate grits, do not store grits. That's one of those things where people spend a lot of money on foods they'll never eat. And I know if you're starving, you may eat it, but I always recommend to, definitely store what you will eat, what your family will eat. I hope this covers a lot. Again, print some stuff off, some information for you for your books, and always keep it where you can look at it once in a while and refresh what you need to do, maybe you're short on. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please subscribe. And if you want to be notified for future videos, ring the bell. Have a blessed day.